kind of threw this out there. Didn't necessarily ask you, but I'm going to ask you now. The Sacramento Kings play the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. By record, that is the best team in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost, 2 games out of their last, I don't even know how many.
The Bucks?
16, 17. It's got to be like 2 of their last, 20-something at this point, doesn't it?
Something like 2 or 3.
You've got Boston coming up in about 8 days, 1 week from tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you got Denver. Some question marks there. Are the Sacramento Kings, of course, I don't mean to leave out Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers or Donovan Mitchell, a kind of outlier is not the word, but he's a fringe MVP candidate.
Mm-hmm.
He's an MVP candidate in an MVP race. He knows he's not going to win,
Mm-hmm.
but he's having that caliber of a season. Are the Kings a top 4 team in the NBA? A top 5 team in the NBA?
So,
and if they aren't, who's better?
So let's do this together.
Okay.
We got Milwaukee.
Yep.
Boston.
Yep.
Philly.
Yep.
Denver. That's 4.
So I'm going to stop there because Denver hasn't been super impressive. So it might depend on. Okay,
we're doing this power.
So let's do this.
Style?
No, I'm gonna dump this. Let me start over. Let's go on the season. Let's go with everything that we saw. So I'll take that. Denver, yes, Denver
4.
Mm-hmm.
And now here's where it gets tricky because now you're just like, I think you're just kind of assuming or projecting when you talk about Memphis, Phoenix, and the Clippers.
So
I would say, and I'll put Cleveland in there, and I'd say no to all 4 of those teams. I think the Kings are better than all 4 of those teams, which makes them a top 5 team in the league.
Well, if we were doing season-long power rankings, if we were just doing, this was week 1 of the power rankings, I'll use one of the Kenny Caraway arguments that sometimes isn't even real when we're doing NFL power rankings. You'll just mention it. I think this would happen. You don't have to think. Sacramento's beat Cleveland twice.
Yeah. I don't have Cleveland being better. Don't have Cleveland being better.
So
no, sir.
You said something that I think we should address. You said you're projecting, right?
Well, I said
with Phoenix, yeah.
Some people would project, all this other stuff.
We've been doing that all year. The Clippers are going to be this. Oh, at some point the Clippers are going to be this. Phoenix. Oh no, at some point Golden State. At some point. Okay, well, at some point we got to stop doing that because we're running out of reasons to not acknowledge that this team, the Sacramento Kings team, is one of the best in the league. In my opinion, on the reason that most people won't acknowledge them as one of the best teams in the league is because of their history. Their 16-year history, the Luke Walton history, the puking fan history, the Dave Yeager, the Paul Westphal, all of those guys. Kenny Nat, they're holding that against De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk and Harrison Barnes and Domantas Sabonis. Those guys have nothing to do with the history of this franchise. We talked about this with De'Aaron. He's got his own streak that needs to end. It has nothing to do with the Sacramento Kings. It's his own personal playoff list streak, his own personal playoff drought, which, by the way, is a long one. When you look across the rest of the league, you look at other players, hell, you could even encompass franchises at that point. De'Aaron has a long playoff drought just for himself. Right. You eliminate all of that other stuff. You eliminate all of the nonsense that for so long has been associated with the Sacramento Kings. I think more people would land on the Sacramento Kings being a top 5 team in the NBA right now.
Yes.
It's the past that holds them back from thinking that, not what they're seeing on the floor right now, because there's enough of a sample size. Hey, the defense isn't very good. You're right. Defense is good in the fourth quarter, though. But no team has ever been such and such. No team has ever been this bad defensively and have gone to the conference finals. Yep. But no team has ever scored like this Sacramento Kings team has. You've got a clutch player. You got a Jerry West award that you're giving out. if Nikola Jokic is a runaway for the MVP, De'Aaron Fox is a runaway for the clutch player of the year.
Facts.
It's not close.
Right. The national media and others are starting to come around to saying this team is legit. And one of the things that becomes a pattern, I think you could say, is the late game execution on the defensive end, like you mentioned. And it's not just, oh, they're getting lucky and they lock up at the end of games. They play good defense at the end of games.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be taken into consideration at this point. It can't be looked at as something that's just an anomaly and they do it every now and then. No, they play good defense late in games. And that number, that top 10 number, needs to be recited just as much as, the fact that they're 27th or whatever it is for the whole game or anything like that. Like they're a legit, solid defensive team when the chips are down.
So
combine that with the fact that they are like by far and away the most efficient team offensively in that same time frame.
That's exactly what I was going to follow your point up with, is you've got to give some sort of acknowledgement to that. This team has not been blown out very often this year. They've certainly had some bad games. They've had some frustrating games, but it hasn't been like of years past, which this team, as we see it currently constructed, is in year one. Year one, not year 17. And if you're willing to accept that, Monty McNair has done everything he can to make this team better since becoming the general manager. If you respect Mike Brown, some of these same people had something to say about Mike Brown getting this job. Don't think we've lost the revisionist history on the Mike Brown hire. We remember that too. Now you've got Mike. Again, you talk, and this is a point we're going to get to today. You could argue there's 2, maybe 3 postseason awards that are runaway victories for people associated with the Sacramento Kings. De'Aaron, Mike, and Monty. We'll talk about that, though. But I don't know how you can look at the way that this team is playing and not acknowledge they are one of the top 5 teams in the NBA.